I'm Robin Bennett. I'm one of the co-founders of the Dog Gurus, and Susan Briggs is here. She is the other co-founder of the Dog Gurus. And the Dog Gurus has been around uh, as a joint venture for many years, as an actual company for about the last 7 or 8 years. Susan and I have been in the pet industry for combined over 50 years. I think we've now decided it's
Yeah.
been a long time. But anyway, the Dog Gurus helps pet care businesses launch, grow, and profit. We help you with business consulting as well as staff training. So if you have questions on those things, feel free to check us out on our website at thedoggurus.com, or just listen to us on Facebook every week when we come out here. But we are going to bring up a special guest. So I'm going to throw it over to Susan so I can bring Lori up and you can introduce Lori while I'm doing that.
All right. Yeah. We know one of the challenges a lot of you have right now is you are limiting the number of clients you're bringing in because staffing, getting back to full staff is a challenge. And so we love having Lori Davis from Paramount Success Group and My Reservation People join us. And we thought it would be fun to talk to Lori about how you guys can sell more to existing clients, all without being salesy. Because if you've been on any of the Facebook lives we've done with Lori, it comes from a place of education and passion and actually providing a service. And in some ways, if you don't, then I think you're cheating the clients and the dogs out of some great opportunities for services. So Lori, I know you've worked with a lot of clients the past few years and right now, so you're really in tune with what's going on. And what are your top 2 best practices that you recommend for growing revenue with existing clients?
I would say existing clients, you're reselling yourself every time you speak with them. And I almost hate to use the word selling because it's really that you're nurturing a relationship every time you speak with them. So right now, I know that the name of the game, because phone calls are out of sight and everyone loves that they have online reservation. But the one thing I would say is don't forget about your existing clients and the value of having a conversation with them. So just because they make a reservation online, they're usually going to select what they did the last time. They may not select a bathing service or anything else. So it's going to be the bare minimum. And so placing one phone call to making sure that everything is accurate and then offering them something new, something different, not just the same run of the mill. You may have new packages that you want to introduce to them. And because I hear all the time in listening to phone calls that, oh, I didn't know you had that, because they've been doing the same thing year after year. So whoever is in charge of making those reservations, read those notes, look at how the dog does, and invite them to try something else. And if you have a conversation that lets the client know, you know who you're talking about, their individual pet, not just, hey, we have these new packages, XYZ, here you go. It's, oh, I think Fluffy would really enjoy, and then explain what's included and explain the benefits of what's included. So it's always building the value.
I remember when online booking stuff first came out, which I guess apparently shows how long the three of us have been in the industry, because there actually was a time when there were no software companies really
Right.
that
Right.
did a lot of all the tracking that we do now. But there was a time when online booking didn't exist for pet care. And I distinctly remember having a conversation with you, Lori, where you were like, I don't know about that online booking thing because it's super convenient to us. But I actually did book something for my dog online. And I remember being so excited that I could do it online. It was so
Mhm.
convenient. But I got off the computer and I went, they don't know anything about me. Like, I'm not dropped. Like, I got really freaked out because I was thinking, I'm going to go and drop my dog off there for some services. They don't even know my dog. I need to be telling them I'm one of these
Right.
people. If you come over to take care of my dog, I'm like, here's the 85 things that you need
Exactly.
to do while you're on the walk with my dog. So I do think it's a double-edged sword where you want that convenience, but you also want to make sure that that they know your dog. And I also think that you miss a lot of opportunities just hearing from clients at the end of the day when they pick up their dog, or in the morning when they drop off their dog. You'll just hear things and then you can go, oh, like, we can help with that. If they're having an issue with, I always say for the training, especially, like, they are talking about how their dog just chewed up baby's toys or whatever, you can talk to them about, we have some programs where we can help you with some training services or grooming services, whatever it is. I just feel like you miss a lot of opportunity to learn what they might need through those
Right.
conversations.
And I am a big believer in the benefits of online reservations, but with new clients, your target client doesn't want to, just like you said, they don't want to make a reservation without knowing if they can trust you. So that's a conversation. And it's better to have that on the phone rather than having every single pet parent come in for a tour. But the other thing is put a timeline on it. So if an existing client comes every couple weeks, their dog's staying there, that's one that does the same thing every time. Once you've introduced new things to them, then let that client just make those reservations, send them a confirmation email. But if it's been 3 to 6 months since a client has been back, they may have visited another facility. So it may be that you need to reconnect with them. They may not remember what you offer, and they may have just selected the bottom of the barrel, whatever, online. So it's good to re-engage, build that value all the time, and have them remember why they selected you in the first place, and they introduce new things.
I think that's great. And can you also share some ideas on how to get a front desk team or whoever's calling more comfortable introducing things? Maybe an example of some of the benefits and how the conversation might go.
Yes. So what I hear right now, because the phone is ringing off the hook at most places, but what I hear is, and this just makes me cringe, oh, you can go to our website and fill out a form and submit that. And I've even had owners say, Lori, the phone is so crazy. That's, yes, I admit I've done it too. But you have to remember those are your marketing dollars at work. And if you send the person away to the website, or if pet parents don't know what questions to ask, so they're going to say, how much is it? And do you have availability? Or I want to get some information. If you just give them a price, then they are making their decision based on price alone. So remembering this sentence, we're so happy you called us. I want to learn a little bit about you and your pet, and then I'll help you make a great reservation, or I'll give you all the information you'll need to make a reservation. But gather some of their information first. Learn about their dog. Create a new client file by at least getting the first and last name, the phone number, and the email address, because if they hang up, then they're gone. Like, they're price shopping. And we don't want them to price shop. We want them to fall in love with you and go, oh my gosh, these people really care about learning about my dog. So you got to really, what I always say, if you have more than one person working at the front desk and you get a new client call, you actually ask them to hold. Say, I want to give you my undivided attention. Let me take your call in another area, and go take their call in a quiet space so that you really can spend time with that new client.
Yeah, I love that. I've seen people do that as well. And I always talk to people about what's the purpose of your website, which most people will tell you the purpose of the website is to make people aware of us and get them to either call us or come in for a tour. So if you remember that, and that really is the purpose of your website most of the time, to provide information, get people to actually come in for a tour or call you.
Mhm.
So now if they're actually doing that and you're sending them back to the website, you're actually going backwards with your marketing. And because most pet care facilities don't have the means to collect, you should, but most pet care facilities don't have the means to collect data from their website. So they don't have a way to collect that owner's name and email or contact information. You actually just lost a client if you don't at least get the name and phone number to call them back if something
Right.
happens. So I always like when I call customer service for anything, and they always go, in case we get hung up on,
Mhm.
can I get your phone number? I never care about giving them the phone number because I honestly think it's so they can call me back.
Right.
But that
And that's
just
what we
sets a different
say
tone. Yeah.
in our scripts. We say we're just very assumptive and say, great, in order for me to give you accurate pricing and availability, I want to start by learning a little bit about you and your pet, your first name and your last name. And then we do say, and a phone number to reach you just in case we get disconnected. And then, and an email address. And you know what? I used to have, when when I was role playing with people, I used to use that as a test. Okay, I really don't want to give you my email address. I never hear that anymore because people know they can opt out so easily. People never question it, they just give it. So
Yeah.
the only one is, okay, do you really need my address, my physical address? So you can always go back and get that, but at least get that name, phone number, and email address, and create a new client file.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So Lori, I know that we've both been working with our clients to raise rates because costs are going up, and especially with staffing and even all expenses. And I think you also have a great way of increasing package pricing. So I know a lot of people feel like I'm at the top of the market. How do I share why they should book with us?
So I don't know who on here may have a dedicated reservation specialist, but if you don't, they will pay off in spades. I can't say enough about how your revenue will automatically, they will pay for themselves and then some. But even if you don't, it's all about building the value. So when people say, I want to get some information, we want to give them some information, not just prices, because we don't want people making a decision based on price alone. So we want to let them know about the type of training that our pet care team goes through. We want to let them know how we are building safe from germs. And if you have UV air filtration systems, let's say it, because that's on everyone's mind. You have certain vaccination requirements, which that happens later on in the script, but it's really building the value. If you are a business owner and you put your team through Pet Guru College, it's mentioned the dog gurus, and it's advanced training by industry experts. Just build the value of everything you do. If the height of your fences or whatever you have done to keep dogs safe or keep all pets safe, and because that's really what pet parents are worried about. And what you will hear if you bullet point some of those items to before you give pricing, if you'll just bullet point some of the things that make you unique and set you apart, then you'll hear people say, oh, they never knew that all of that might have gone into providing superior care for pets. And so all of a sudden, when you give them a price, then they're not going, oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. They understand everything that goes into your pricing.
Yeah, and I think the thing that most of the folks that you and I, the dog gurus, work with they're at the top of their game. Like Susan and I say this all the time, like those pet care facilities that are doing an amazing job, that are getting education for their staff, that are getting consulting for their business, and they're really growing their business and they're doing things right. The ones that we keep saying, those are the ones we want to see prosper and stay in business and not burn out. I think you all don't realize how much you're doing that is different than the one down the street or in your other community. I think the way that most of you look at it is everyone should be doing it this way. And I would agree with that. Everyone should be doing it that way, but everyone isn't. And most pet parents don't know that. So you really do have to get good about highlighting what amazing care you are providing for those pets, and all of the training that you're doing, all the education that you give your team or that you get for yourself, all of the safety measures like that you've taken into consideration as you've built your facility and operate your facility. I think we discount those so much and don't really highlight them nearly as much as we should, because you're just thinking that's just the part of doing business.
Right.
We say it all the time. Highlight them. You have to highlight them.
I had a reservation specialist that I was trying to create buy-in with the script because she wasn't using it. And she felt, which I hear all the time, people don't want to hear all that. And I could send her some recordings where she was asking people, do you have a few minutes so that I can tell you a little bit about us? And I was like, don't ask. They picked up the phone to call you and they want the information. You don't have to ask if they have time because they picked up the phone to call you. So what we know is that pet parents have made their decision about 80% of the way. So you just have to build a relationship with them, let them know they can trust you and why, give them some reasons that they can trust you, and they'll make a reservation. And they really will appreciate the time you spend with them, because 90% of facilities aren't doing it that way.
Yeah. So Kathy had a comment, kind of a question. If you have only, let me show this up here. If you have only one line, one phone line in, and your business is still doing curbside services, so sometimes people are outside, it's hard to tie up the phone line. And then we find people are often wanting answers to problems over the phone. So that takes time as well. What kind of solutions would you recommend for that?
The first thing I would recommend is getting more phone line. Right now with the call volume, I have this calculator of how many phone people you would need to answer the volume of calls that some of my clients are getting. So it's not reasonable to think that every call is going to be answered, but you do need more than one phone line, because if somebody calls and they get a busy signal, the first thing that I think they're going to think is, oh, they're really small and they aren't very advanced, or I'm not trying to say anything bad about it. It's all about perception. So it's like we already get complaints that I can't get through. Nobody answers the phone, but that's because 50 people are calling at the same time. Not that many, but still, you do need the phone to roll over. You need them to be able to leave a voicemail, and you need to be able to have meaningful conversations with pet parents, because they're aching for someone to give them information about what you do and why they should trust you, but they don't know the questions to ask. So I would definitely invest in another phone line and make those conversations a priority.
Yeah. And I think, what do you think about, like, for our phone line at the Dog Gurus, it's a little bit different, but we have 3 lines. We use Ring Central, but we have 3 lines. And at the beginning, they hear, if you have questions about our products and services, press 1. If you have billing questions, because for us, that's one of our main 2 for current clients, one of our main 2 questions we get. So we have a specific line. If you have billing questions, press 2. And then our other thing from existing clients is tech questions. They can't log into the LMS or something like that. So we're directing them there. So would you recommend having, if you want to learn about our services, or if you're an existing client, have a different extension?
Yes. So I recommend, some people have many options on their auto attendant, but in the bare minimum would be that you would want to have, if you're calling to check on a pet currently staying with us, please press 1. If you are calling to hear about our services or to make a reservation, please press 2. So you get reservation calls going one place and you get front desk calls going another place. I always recommend having a 0, because some people just press 0 and
That's my husband.
and they get really frustrated if they can't press 0. So save yourself the complaints, have a 0 that goes to the front desk.
And I think the other thing you could do for curbside calls is get a company cell phone with a line and have them text you when you get there. And that way you're not tying up your phone lines with the curbside.
100%. Yeah, texting is amazing. And in this new course that I just did, I have some texting scripts, because not necessarily for, hey, I'm here or I'm outside, but texting is a way to get people's attention quickly. And I just think I'm all about having the conversation, but if you're trying to get vaccine records or something from a client before they come in, send them a text, and they're going to see that much faster than they're going to listen to your voicemail or read their email.
And then Jamie said you can text to an email address as well, which is true. So Edmund was asking, what's the ratio of people to phone lines, or is that based on like call volume? Like, how would you determine that?
It really is. I think it's totally based on call volume, and it's based on new clients versus existing clients, because we know new clients can take 12 to 20 minutes, maybe a little more, but existing clients are like 5 to 7 minutes, and 7 is long. I really say, if your revenue is under $1 million, I would say you need 1 person. If you're over $1 million, you need 2 people.
And what kind of, is that dedicated?
Or maybe 1.5.
Is that dedicated just to the phones? Like that person's sole job? You're not talking about one person who answers the phone while they're doing all the other stuff they do.
No, because at the front desk, there's so much going on. And my philosophy is let's have a customer service team where all they're concerned about is making sure that all I's are dotted, T's are crossed, and those clients are happy. Then you have reservations people or a reservation specialist who builds the trust, builds the value with the client, and they gather all the information that's necessary, put it into the system. They give the client all the information they need about what vaccines they would need, anything, drop off, pickup times, food, all that. And then the reservation specialist passes the baton to the front desk. The front desk takes it from there. And then they make sure that all vaccines are updated, all the forms get in, and they are ready to greet that pet parent and the pet when they arrive. So it really is departmentalizing.
I was going to share my story. Some of you may have heard this before, but for those that are like, I don't know, like the food isn't that important. I can tell you when I had my training business, we had a client that came in, she just raved about us. And every time she would come to class, she'd be like, you guys are so great. I love you, blah, blah, blah. And so one day I asked her, I was like, what do you really like about us the most? What attracted you to us? Because she was just such a promoter of our services. Her first response to me was, well, to start, she goes, well, to start with, you answered the phone the first time I called. I was like, that's it? Because I was expecting her to say like how amazing we all were at training. Well, she did eventually say that was good too. But her first impression, that was the thing. She had called 5 trainers and nobody answered the phone. So it's just interesting how big of an impact that does make.
It does make a big impact. The thing is right now with a lot of pet care facilities, that's just not realistic because I don't know if I've shared it with Dog Gurus people, but over 27 or 28 million households obtained a pet during the pandemic. A lot of my clients are just experiencing these unprecedented call volumes. And we say that to people, but we get back to them as quickly as possible.
That's the thing, is returning their call within a reasonable time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So
Kimberly asked the question, what about home-based businesses that have only one phone?
So what I would do in that case is I would actually put it on the voicemail that your call's very important to me, and please leave your name and phone number and whatever other information you might want to get, and assure them you'll call them back as quickly as possible.
The other thing is the service that we use is we don't even have that physical phone. I have an app on my telephone that has it, and it's a computer app I can download phone calls from or text from.
Right.
And it's not a physical phone. It's a phone line, but
it's in the cloud. Exactly. And there are so many options nowadays to have a phone system. And it does give the idea that you are very well organized. Oh, this place is professional and they have their stuff. It's the same thing as when you pick up the phone and the person who answers the phone has a definite structure they take someone through. So a reservation process that says to the pet parent, wow, these people have their stuff down pat. Like they care about getting to know me and my pet. And they have I know everything I need to know. They impressed me. So that builds trust right there.
Yeah, it's so important. Now, Laura, you know that I love KPI and monitoring and improving your business by watching your KPI. And you and I kind of share one of the most important KPI. We were actually on a committee to do this.
Yeah, we were. Yeah.
We both agreed on revenue per pet. So can you talk about what that calculation is and how you monitor it and what they should be looking for?
Yeah. So what we look at in revenue per pet is, so you have the real estate and we don't want to just sell real estate because there's nothing to add to that if you're just selling a space and something that's included. So what we want to do is we want to look at what you're bringing in for overnight lodging, just the lodging portion, what you're bringing in for additional services, which could be activities, bathing services, training that you might add on to a lodging reservation. And then you take those numbers, add them together and divide it by the number of nights of the stay. So if you were looking at a month, looking at your revenue per pet per night over the course of a month, you would add up everything that went into your lodging reservations, and then divide it by the number of nights that all of the pets spent the night in your, and if it's under $50 or $55, then you need to talk to one of us.
I was gonna say, I was thinking when you said that, I was like, that's low.
Oh,
Glad you
that is
ended it
so
that way.
low. That
Yeah.
is so low. Yeah. But it's amazing how if you have someone talking to people and promoting your services in a consultative way, not in a salesy way, like Susan said, I don't do that. It's you build a relationship with them. You come across as the expert. One of the things is, and I know we're running on time, but if someone says to you, my dog just lies around all day, but that's at home. So you want to come across and say, I get that's at home, but when dogs visit us, they're excited by the new sights, smells, and sounds, and they have increased adrenaline. So we want to keep them active so that when they get back to their accommodation, they're ready to eat and sleep. And we know that when they eat well and they sleep well, they're going to be happier and healthier. So you're going to send home a healthier dog. So
Yeah, and that tracking that revenue per pet, I think if you aren't tracking that, it is so important to track that. And then not only track it, but then your goal should be try to increase it over month after month. So if if you look back the last 3 months or the last 6 months, ideally the last year, and you can say my average revenue per pet over that period of time was X amount, then challenge yourself. What if you just increased it to even $5? And frankly, like an average add-on is going to be at least 8. So it's probably going 5 is really low. But if you just say, what if I just get $5 more from every pet that comes in? That starts to add up. And
Right.
it's a quantifiable thing you can really hold yourself accountable to accomplishing, but you'll start to see that revenue increase. So that's why it's really important to know the baseline to begin with. And Lori said, if it's 50 or less right now, then you're low just even going into the game. So
Exactly.
you definitely
Yeah,
look
I
at
want
it.
to say below 70.
Yeah.
And I think the profitability, if you're pricing your services and packages, they should be highly profitable, which will
Mhm.
help pay for some of the staff increases and things you want. Yeah, I think it's a great measure. If you're only going to look at one key measure, that would be the one I would be looking
Right.
at right now.
And I will say that the common concern that we hear when we talk about hiring someone to manage your phones or hiring someone to be that reservation specialist is always, I can't afford it. But
Mhm.
or though, well, it's that, or it's we can't take any new clients. So first of all, the whole new client thing, you can still sell more to current clients.
Absolutely.
And with the money issue, as Lori stated it in the very beginning, if your reservation specialist or whoever's managing your phone calls, whatever you call that person, whatever they're doing is the right, if they're doing it the right way, they are going to bring in more revenue than what you're paying them. So in the long run, this is one of those things that it's going to actually make you money, spend money, and you'll end up making more money. It's one of, and I know a lot of times people don't believe that, but that is the
It's
goal. And
investing.
frankly, if it doesn't work, then get rid of them. But
Well, then
after
they're
you
not the
give 'em,
right person.
and that's what I would be saying is you can always say, okay, try it for 3 months. If it's not working, get rid of them. But if it's not working, it is probably because they aren't following good scripts or they aren't being consistent or it's something about their performance, not the fact that that position doesn't work.
Right.
And I think nowadays more than ever, we as the pet industry, we have got to increase our pricing and we've got to increase our service volume enough that in terms of that revenue for pet that we're making money because our expenses are going through the roof.
They are. And I would be honest with pet parents. When you adjust your rates, let them know. We've said our expenses have gone up 30% just over the last 6 months. These are the pet care facilities that I work with. And so while we're not passing along a 30% increase to you, we do have to adjust our rates to offset our increase in costs because we want to be around to take care of your pets for years to come. And you know what? If you don't apologize for it, you just explain it very confidently and they get it. Honestly, every single person that I've worked with on a price adjustment, they tell me, oh, 2 or 3 people complained. One might have left, but they came back.
So Lisa said, can you tie bonuses to this position or commissions?
Yes. Yeah. I'm a believer in bonuses. I like to do set benchmark goals and do performance bonuses based on meeting each goal. So say 50% of all the lodging reservations would include a bathing. That's one of the goals. You could set package. If you have packages, you could set goals that way. But I'm rather than making it all about volume, because before the pandemic, we used to have these peaks and valleys. Now it's just been like, we're just busy. But when you have a reservation specialist who depends on a certain amount of money, when your February used to be a completely slow month, and the reservation specialist, if they're making commission, they're not going to make anything when you're not booking reservations. But if we do it on meeting their benchmark goals, then they're making their bonus because they've kept their performance. The reservations that they are making are at that level.
Oh, that makes sense.
They're even going to be better because they have more time to spend with the pet parents.
Yeah, that
So
makes sense.
Lori, you guys have been doing a lot of new things. You want to share what Paramount and My Reservation people can help support these businesses that are wanting to improve sales and revenues?
So we know that hiring has been difficult, and what we have done is, and there are people that aren't ready to dive in and get a reservation specialist yet, but even if you are, we have new training. It's new training courses under the umbrella of Goodness Wins, which is our motto is goodness wins, doing right by every person, every pet, every day. So it's not a selling mindset. It is I'm going to do the right thing. Like, you can trust me, and I'm going to explain why. And so we have a new customer journey course, and it's best practices, processes, and scripts for talking to customers and coming across very confidently. And so it's something that I would have every single person in the facility view, so that everyone speaks the same language. There are some processes in there that you may not have belongings policy the way that I have outlined one, but I outlined one that you don't have to take beds if you don't want to. So you can explain why you wouldn't be doing that. And so we'll share the link with you, but it's our newest course, and it really and truly is for every person who has any kind of customer contact. It's really making that customer journey. And just with that alone, you will see your revenue increase. There's a section on adding on grooming, bathing and grooming services. And it's all about why. So it's explaining why. If someone says, oh, I just had my dog bathed, or we just had nails trimmed, we give you language to say why it's important to do it often. And then after, their dogs are we don't want to send dogs home smelling like a dog. So we give you some scripting to help you promote that go home bath or whatever.
And Kathy, I did put the link for that in the comments. Kathy said she did try hiring just a front of the house person to answer the phone and do bookings instead of the daycare techs, trying to fit it in. I guess I just didn't fire the right people. It's so hard to find the right people right now, which I definitely think is true. I think we've seen that in our industry. Well, really in a lot of industries, hiring staff is just so hard right now. But I also think training them the right way. And the one thing I have learned through working with Lori, especially also with Charlotte, who's on our team, who has a background in sales, is a skill you have to learn. Yes, there are some people that are just naturally good telling people what value is out there and what they might need, but there really is a skill involved. And it really isn't that salesy car salesman kind of attitude. It's really about exactly what you just said, Laura. I love that you're just trying to do what is right for that person and you have a service for a reason. And it's because most pet care facility owners that we talk to, most of them will tell some version of a story of, I started my own pet care because there was just nothing else out there that was any good. And you have that. So you need to make sure that you can explain it. But I remember years ago, and I thought I was pretty good at talking to pet parents, to be honest. But years ago, Lori and Susan and I remember when we did that role play?
Role play. I still have it.
Oh my gosh. And then Lori critiqued mostly me. And it was horrible. I was horrible. I was like, oh my gosh. But she gave me so many really good tips. And that was the beginning of me going, there's like a whole process to this that you really should learn from somebody who has the background and the experience in it. And that's the same thing with whoever you're bringing in to be that person on the phone, to be that voice of your business, to talk to new clients. So I definitely think it's an investment that is worthwhile for everybody because I just don't think people have that skill right out of the bat.
And for most people, the personality traits of someone who really loves being on the phone and selling is not the same as your people that love to be taking care of animals and hiding away from people. And so
Right.
you've got to match the skill sets. And what I found as a business owner, I wasn't a good leader for those people either, which I think one reason I love your arm of your business, My Reservation People, is you could just let Lori do it and her team,
That
hire
yeah.
them, outsource.
So that's the thing. And what we watch, you talk about revenue per pet per night. So I know in Paramount Success Group, we help people hire, train, and provide ongoing coaching and sales management for people. And I know we do a fabulous job on the Paramount Success Group side. Once we switch someone to the My Reservation People side, I watch their revenue per pet per night go up even higher because somewhat the caliber of people that we are focusing on hiring to do this job, but they're also not sitting in the pet care facility. But we can tell when they're on the phone, when they're not on the phone. We are in constant conversation with them, but they are 100% dedicated on making those amazing reservations. And they are paid a bonus just like every other reservation specialist. So yeah, it has worked very well. We have a waiting list and we're just trying to hire reservation specialists as quickly as we can.
That's
So
awesome.
Yeah. So if you are looking to try to hire that kind of position, Lori can help with that as well.
yeah, I definitely can. So
Time always flies by when we have you.
I know.
So Kathy just said, so there's an outside remote service that could answer our phones and do this without them being in the business. Yep. That's actually what
100%.
My Reservation People does. So
Yeah.
she does say she's in Canada. Does that matter?
It doesn't matter. We have people on the phone from 9 a.m. Eastern to 9 p.m. Eastern. So, we cover time zones and we could look into it. I haven't looked into that with somebody said shut the front
She says
door.
shut the front door. Exactly. Yeah, I would totally look at that.
So, yeah, I mean, our reservation specialist at MRP is the initials. They have brownies baked for them and delivered to the facilities. They have Christmas gifts go to the facilities. People never know that they're not sitting right in the same building. And it's not that we hide it. It's just, we don't share it. But because our RSs know the facility and the people working there, it's seamless.
Yeah, that's great.
Works. Yeah. So any other questions?
I think I caught up with most of them.
Okay.
Anything else, Susan, that you want to share? I'm going to go grab the Facebook link real quick.
No, I think now's a great time because the busy summer, we hear that airlines can't keep up with the demand. It's going to be a busy summer with lodging. So spending some time now focusing on your upsells or your activities and packages and setting some goals, working on some basic scripts is a great investment so that you can maximize your revenue going in. And also make sure your pricing is right. You can role play with your team to get them more comfortable. I think that's the key is let them have the practice so that they feel comfortable having those conversations. And
Right.
Lori's course will go a long way to getting you started. So it'd be a good investment to get you ready to maximize revenue in this peak time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we talked about this a little bit at the live event, but just remember that if you're hoping, well, we're going to do as well as we did last year, or maybe better than we did last year, definitely better than 2020. But if you're just maintaining, even if you raised your prices, you're probably you're going to be lucky this year if you break even in terms of profitability because inflation is so high right now. So you have to look at getting your pricing because your expenses are going up no matter what. Obviously you should try to reduce expenses, but those are going up because inflation. So your pricing has to go up, but also you want to make sure that revenue per pet is going up because if it's not, if you're just going to do the same thing you did in the past years, you're just going to end up maintaining. So you really want to have a strategy this year to say, when we start getting that busy season, all those summer pets, how are we going to bump ourselves up so that we can get that volume still, but make more per pet? And I think I agree with Susan that that course will be a great first starting point for everybody to help with that. So we appreciate you, Lori, for
Absolutely.
coming on here and talking more about that. We do have, somebody had asked about commissions. We actually did do a Facebook Live, I don't know, maybe a year ago with Lori. We've done a couple of Facebook Lives with Lori because she's our friend. And in addition to her having an amazing business, we also know that she has great ideas on commissions and bonuses and working with your RSs and all that. So if you check our YouTube channel, there is a playlist on revenue streams, and you'll find a couple of other Facebook Lives in there. And I know we did one specifically on commissions and bonuses, and you had some really good ideas there.